folks, you're with Tacitus today. Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this radio audio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the connection between forest fires the world over and supposed, global warming, climate change. Now, I've noticed that I think we've all noticed that every time there's a forest fire anywhere, it's leapt on by the propagandists, the propagandist media, the globalist controlled politicians, which is pretty much all the politicians in the West these days, World Economic Forum, United Nations, you name it, all the globalist propagandists and their flunkies and goons and hangers on all rush to the thing, go, there, see, proof that forest fire, that's because of global warming, climate change. There you go, rock solid evidence. And do you question that? Do you disagree with it? You fucking Nazi. So that's the sort of the structure, if you like, of the sensible debate that we're having around forest fires and their causes. So now you don't need to spend a lot of time actually to go through the cause of forest fires to find that it's got, if anything, I don't know, maybe say 1 in every 15 forest fires could be sort of quite indirectly attributed to climate in isolation. But that would be it, and even that's being generous. So the reality is that you're hard pressed to find a single forest fire anywhere in the world that's got anything to do with supposed global warming or climate change. So how are these forest fires started, or how do they start? Now, just it's supposed to be related to the climate change caused by the industrial age. So when the first settlers, early settlers were in Australia, they wrote about forest fires. And this is before the Industrial Revolution was kicked off. So we're talking sort of, there's one here from 1817, so very much the pre-industrial era. And there's some folks traveling in the forest in the outer regions there. And there's a lightning strike and it starts a fire, and they escape by jumping into a river that happens to be not far away. Some of their group jumped into a tributary of the river, like a creek, but the water wasn't that deep, and ended up that the forest fire boiled the water and, of course, killed them, but some of them survived it. So forest fires have been around. If you look at the ancient Greece, ancient Rome, and so on, they also talk about forest fires. So forest fires have been around for a long time. We've got nothing to do, or no direct relationship, at least, with global warming or supposed global warming. Remember, the global warming allegation is based on long-term computer modeling projections that are put together by rabid activists. So how much stock you want to place in these things is quite another matter. But it's something that the globalists who want to, you remember, they want us to vote. They want to impose ideological government on us. They're the ones that are pushing this. So you could say it's just part of their take control agenda. But equally, they own pretty much all the propaganda apparatus worldwide that pushes the global warming thing. So, whether it be YouTube or the major media outlets and so on. But let's have a look at the wildfires. And it's pretty much it's surprisingly consistent whether you look at wildfires in Canada or the United States or Australia, or even some of the rural mountain areas in like north of Greece and so on. So let's have a look at those now. In Australia, about 60% of all fires are started by arsonists. Now, the years vary. Sometimes it's 47%, sometimes it's 61%, but it's in that range. Are started by arsonists. Now, a lot of these are global warming activists who want the fantasy to be a reality. So the fantasy is not a reality, so they just go out and start a fire and say, "Oh, look there, you see global warming," but in reality, it's started by arsonists. Some of these people are accidental arsonists. They're having a barbecue and they don't clean up properly at the end of the barbecue, and it's dry. Height of summer and it's dry, and so the sparks manage to ignite some dry flammable material and so on. So it's not all willful arsonic. Some of it's just sloppiness, and even some on top of it accidental. Now look at the next category that starts a forest fire. It's lightning strikes. So that's hardly a global warming thing. You could argue, well, there are more lightning strikes in global, but that's not the case. From the time that lightning strikes have been recorded, there hasn't been any increase. A slight decrease, in fact, would be more the case. So that's got nothing to do with the climate, or if it is, it's a natural climate evolution and nothing to do with man-made contributions. So lightning strikes, perfectly natural, been happening. The Romans and the Greeks, ancient Romans and Greeks, complained of this, lightning strikes starting fires. So again, nothing to do with the climate change propaganda machine. So the next layer is backburning operations that go wrong. Now, just for those that don't know, during what backburning is meant to be, it's meant to controlled forest fire burns that burn the flammable material on the forest floor, which means bushfires aren't as intense, don't catch on as quickly, and don't spread as far. They're much easier to control. The intensity of the fire is much less, and so on. but you've got to control that undergrowth. That undergrowth is really fuels the fire and allows it to spread far more quickly with greater intensity. So during winter, when it's cold and when, say, rain is predicted in the next few days, they have controlled, or this is the idea at least, controlled burn-offs to clean this stuff out of the forest floor. So now it's a fairly expensive thing to do, and there's a lot of resistance from green groups who say that animals or creatures that are threatened live in these forest floor debris, which some of them do, in the logs, the hollow logs, or the underneath the leaves, and so on. So, or that it's food for various critters, which I'm sure to some extent it must be. So they're saying that, well, you can't do the burn-offs because it's harmful, ecologically harmful to the environment. All right then, so the green groups use this as an excuse, particularly where they get control of the local councils that are often in charge or in co-charge of the burning of the back burning operations. So they don't do the back burning, or they do it in very limited pockets and areas, which means there's a lot of, over the years, a lot of accumulated forest debris. So when there is a forest fire, it rages through with super destructive intensity that had the back burning take place, and it wouldn't have been so bad. The next level is when forest fire starts through whatever means, and the fire services, in an effort to stop the fire from spreading, try and do a tactical backburn operation in a certain pocket or area to try and use that as a method of containing the fire. But they do this at the height of summer, when it's hot and it's dry, and when the risk of a backburning getting out of control is like off the charts in terms of risk. So it's a super risk event and requires absolutely superb levels of planning and professionalism and competence, and you really don't get that in a lot of these people are political hacks or goons or hangers on. The people on the front line are risking their lives. They're the local members of the community that are volunteers, but the people in the office and the admin, political goons and hangers on, and so not every single one of them. Some of them are quite well intentioned, but they're fucking useless. And also political correctness and affirmative actions has run all the way through the fire, because the fire service was all straight white males. Now they've got a thing about you've got to be a black lesbian, otherwise you can't work in there. So you've got some very, very unqualified people. Now, I recently saw, as in the last 12 months, I recently saw a training exercise by the fire service in one jurisdiction in Australia, where and the person in charge was black. The training manager was an angry lesbian, and then someone else was black and couldn't speak English. So they've got this insane affirmative action bullshit going on, and something important like the fire services. And the only competent people that I could see were the straight white males who were just employed as flunkies. All the decision-making management apparatus was was all stacked with affirmative action people. And one backburning, attempted backburning in the middle of summer while they're trying to contain another forest fire, or bushfire as it's called here. There was an intersection point where they knew that they planned it well enough, I guess, where they knew that the backburning fire they were starting could jump the road. It's quite a wide road, and the road was cleared, say into 5 or 10 meters each side of the road. But if it was going to jump at any particular point, it would jump there. The fire would jump across into the next section of forest there. So they had a fire truck there waiting, ready to douse the flame should the jump occur. Whether that would have been enough to stop it if the fire had jumped the road, hard to say. But anyway, on the way over there, the truck broke down. Just so happened it broke down in a radio shadow area. They couldn't tell, and so the fire went there, and it was bad luck to some extent. The wind changed direction, but nonetheless, the fire jumped. Now, thousands of acres of land, forest were burned out there. The ecological disaster of that was just off the charts in terms of magnitude. Thousands upon thousands of critters were killed, and so on. So, but there was no screaming headlines about affirmative action appointments not up to the job. Hundreds of thousands of acres of forest destroyed needlessly. The ecological disaster is massive. There's none of that. No one was talking about that. Instead, they covered up for the affirmative action. So we've got backburning, attempts at backburning in super high risk times, the height of summer and so on. That those go wrong. That's the next category of forest fires, and then that's it. So once you take those arsonists, accidental, people at a barbecue or something like that, the lightning strikes, the fire services themselves attempting backburning at high risk times, and that gets out of control. Once you take those out, there's fuck all in the way of forest fires, hardly any. So this use of forest fires as a propaganda tool to justify or prove, or because it's very dramatic, like flames, look, see, and it's like the skinny polar bear, look, see, club, and it's a visual sort of psyop type trick, really, but I couldn't find it. If there is climate change or even climate related, as in uniquely climate related forest fires, I can't find any of them anywhere. Maybe they do exist. Maybe someone will tell me. Now, I did send a communication to a forest fire propagandist with this saying, look, I can't find any, so can you point some out, and so at least I can research those. And the only response I got back was, you must be a Nazi. So again, they're not wanting to debate it, which proves to me at least that it's all fucking propaganda. You've been with Tassel Straight, your pushback channel. Thank you for listening.